Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Damian Hill. With me, as always, is TJ O'Connor. Tonight we have Ben Locken from Ben Locken's Strength and Conditioning. Yes, I knew I wasn't gonna completely mess up, TJ. Now, Trash Talk is brought to you again by Valhalla Combat Sports Incorporated, Ink Strength Tattoo out of New Brighton, Minnesota. Sparks Strike Institute, the fighters, and TJ's mom. How you doing tonight, Ben?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing good. I mean, TJ jinxed me, but
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, I can't complain. I'm doing well. Appreciate taking the time to talk with us. It's always a pleasure when Trash Talk gets joined by the Mad Scientist.
Oh yeah. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I guess we're to kind of pick up on where we left off the last time that we spoke, because we were speaking a lot on workouts, training regimens, and things like that, but we never actually touched on the nutrition part of it. Uh, what I guess I don't really I didn't really have the question in my head, but to attack the nutrition part of it, what are some of the things that you would recommend fighters stay away from when they're trying to get ready to make weight for a fight? And I guess one of the best ways that it was ever explained to me is putting the right type of fuel into your body. I mean, your car's going to run fine on regular gas, but if you're putting premium in, you're going to get a premium performance. What are the things that fighters should stay away from that's going to impede their performance, and things that they could possibly eat or take into their body that's going to improve their performance?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of things to stay away from. I mean, the basic stuff is like candy, soda, alcohol, sugary sports drinks. I mean, everybody kind of knows that piece of it. Fast food, deep fried stuff, things like of that nature. So just it's not rocket scientist as far as what to stay away from, but
Yeah.
as far as peaking your performance, it's the timing and what you're doing. So if I do something where I'm anaerobic, let's say, where I'm without oxygen, so let's say I'm doing like Tabata sprints, I have to refuel myself differently post workout than if I were to go for a 3-mile run. So aerobic, which is with oxygen. So you have to fuel yourself based on what you did and what you're doing later in the day, and also your timing of it. So if I got, 4 hours between workouts, maybe I get, one good meal in based on what I just did and what I'm going to do, versus if I do a workout in the morning, have 10 hours, and then I do another workout at night. Now maybe I get 3 meals in, and maybe the morning workout was a sprint workout. So my first meal after that is a lot different than if I went for a 4-mile fasted run, let's say. So
Okay.
that's general kind of guidelines. You got to ask yourself, what did you just do? What was your fuel source? And what are good foods to replace or replenish what I just used?
Okay. I feel like you explained that really well, but I'm still
Yeah.
gonna ask you to elaborate just a little bit more. Um, is it calorie based? Is it so if I done a workout that burns a certain amount of calories, does that determine whether it's the one meal versus the 3 meals throughout? Plus, if I'm gonna burn a certain amount of calories later on that day, is that kind of how it's
Yeah.
based off?
So to kind of piggyback what I just said too. So in order to lose weight, right, you got to have a little bit of a caloric deficit. I mean, it's just, higher
Yeah.
output, less intake, lose weight. But again, to keep the performance at a high, you need to refuel with proper nutrients or macros post workout, depending on what you just did. So I wouldn't think of it in terms of meals per se, but you got your overall calories, right, for the day to fuel yourself. And then let's say you burn 500 calories in your workout, you have to replenish the right fuel sources, but you also have to be, for math's sake, at a caloric deficit. So you have to replace, let's say, only 400 calories of it, just to kind of keep things Barney style, make it simple for people. Does that
Okay.
make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Because that was actually going to be my next question was, are you one of those people that believes that you should basically wake up at a lower weight than what you woke up the night before or the morning beforehand? And yeah, I guess, yeah, taking in or eating, burning 500 and only eating or replenishing 400. I mean, eventually you're going to start to lose the weight, right?
Right, right. At
That
least I
sounded
hope.
that sounded I didn't know how to wrap that up, so there we go.
Yeah, and most times, especially if you're staying hydrated, you'll float. So if I go to bed, I got a whole day's worth of food. I mean, yes, I did work out, but I got a whole day's worth of food. But more importantly, let's say I drank a gallon of water. Well, that's 8 pounds right there. If I only sweated out 6 total pounds, I'm actually 2 pounds heavier just on water alone. But if I'm hydrated when I go to bed, I got a higher chance of floating more. So I should wake up. I'm just going to keep it simple. Let's say I go to bed at 180 and I drank all this water. I'm fully hydrated. I'm fed. I get a good night's sleep and I wake up, 177 because my body isn't going into, starvation mode where I'm not getting enough food. I don't have enough water. So I'm going to try to retain and hold on to everything. That's where you start to float a little less. And again, these are just guidelines. The one thing with like fight diets and nutrition, the only thing consistent about them is they're inconsistent. Like I've worked with some fighters, every single camp is different. I got one guy, I've worked with him 7-8 fights. One time we had a 7-pound cut. We average about a 9 to 11-pound cut, but I've also had him where he's had a 16-pound cut.
Yeah.
He's made weight on most of them and whatnot, and but again, it's all inconsistency. It's just what's his body fat, what's his lean muscle tissue, what's his things like that change and alter.
Yeah. And obviously everything's different, but I mean, when it comes to MMA, it's even more broad because, like you said, every body's different. Literally, every fight's different. But when you spend, say, those last 3 days on a real calorie restriction, you cut the weight, you make the weight. Obviously, your rehydration is always key. But I mean, just putting it in my own shoes, I know on the morning of a fight, whether it's competition day nerves, just getting into it, or the fact that you haven't been eating, I always have trouble eating on the day of the fight. What do you recommend to your guys as far as the fight day and what they're putting in their bodies leading up to the fight, especially in a case like I said with my example of not really being hungry, not able to eat?
Right. Biggest thing is a lot of my guys, they eat up until 24 hours before they weigh in. Like I've even fed some of my guys the day of weigh-ins. It's not a lot, but they get your brain on so you can go cut the 2 to 5 pounds. Hopefully you got to cut. And then they weigh in. And then based on that, it's all just what you've been eating. So eat clean. And I always tell people when they're eating, at any point when you're eating, when you're done, you should be able to jog a mile. If you can't jog a mile, you're way too full, you're too bloated, you're too stuffed. And it's a common mistake, you haven't eaten. Most people, haven't eaten in 3-4 days or whatever. So they're like food and they just gorge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, now go run a mile. And they're like, yeah, right. I'm going to be able to barely wake up, get up the stairs. So those are just kind of little guidelines because everybody knows what you should feel like when you jog a mile. It's not super intense. It takes you 10, 12 minutes just to jog, just light jog. If you can do that, you're sitting good. If you can't, you're overfeeding yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that that is sitting on my mind right now, like I feel like the time that the longer the longer I had to actually make the weight, the more likely I was actually to miss the weight, and that's something that I've brought up in an interview with another fighter before. But it's like I'm dieting, I'm doing good, and then all of a sudden cravings start to come in.
Sure.
What are some of the things that people can do to like combat the cravings that they start to get, or how far out should a fighter start dieting? Because like let's say I had 6 or 7 weeks. As soon as I find out about the fight, I'm thinking I need to be in shape and be ready and start being at the weight right now, you know. But the times where I had 3 to 4 weeks to prepare, I
Right.
feel like I made the weight a whole lot easier.
Sure.
I yeah, I think I already asked my question. What are some of the things that you can do to combat that or to make it easier?
So the cravings, and again, it depends who it is, if you can trust them, or if you gotta, like in my case, I have to physically hand them. I haven't had to do this for anybody, and I
Yeah.
might be biting my own foot by saying this, but we'll see. Um, but a big thing is like when you start getting those cravings, you're creating sugar, and everybody's like, stay away from fruit, it's sugar and whatever. Well, it's got fruit. Just think of it as a simple sugar. It's fructose, right? Fructose
Yeah.
fuels your brain. So to help with like sugar cravings, God, I want a candy bar, I want muffins, I want this, I want that, I want sugar, sugar, sugar. So to help hold that back is go have a cup of strawberries. See if that helps. If it doesn't, let me know. Super extreme sweet tooth people, I will literally get gummy bears or licorice, some kind of candy, and give it to them. I would make the thing because I'm not like, oh yeah, go buy some licorice and eat it at. They'd be like, oh, eat the whole thing. That's not what I'm saying. But people with a real sweet tooth, and it it can be a problem. But you just make these little
Yeah.
pre-packets, and I would give them. A lot of my fighters, actually, I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to see them every day. But I'm
Yep.
starting to expand out into like Wisconsin and some out of state people. But I would
Yeah.
say, okay, this is the amount, save it for this time. And again, it's all about when you would eat it, right?
Yep.
Don't eat it maybe before you go to bed. You don't need it before you go to bed. Maybe at a certain time, I would tell them, eat this. Hopefully that helps your little sweet tooth craving. Another one is dark chocolate. Um, it's low volume. It's tasty. It's got the chocolate, 70% cocoa or higher though. If it starts getting below that, now it's just a Snicker bar feeding
Yeah.
purpose. So I found when I start fueling people with more fruit, if they're getting the cravings or the dark chocolate, I haven't had to revert or go all the way extreme into the candy.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. That was one of my hardest things was like the more time it just the cravings would start to sit in. And I'm one of those
for sure.
people like I'm strong willed in some aspects, but when it comes to candy while I'm craving it, nah, I'm gonna give it to the craving almost every time. It's just
Yeah, I'm just as guilty of it.
yeah. Now, okay, so but one of the things that we touched on in the previous interview also is that you had got up to about 200 pounds or a little bit over 200 pounds at a point in time.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if that was one of the things that we had touched on beforehand, or I can't remember the whole conversation. I didn't rewatch the interview before we did this one. I usually do though, but was that one of the things that like kind of opened your mind? Because I already know like you had already picked up a lot of knowledge in the weight training aspects and the dieting when it came to football in high school and things like that, and then even a little bit after. But is that one of the things that opened your mind into thinking that, hey, I'm learning all this information, I might as well learn as much as I can and eventually make a career out of being a nutritionist and a training expert?
Yeah, I mean, when you hit rock bottom, and it's a stupid analogy. Everybody says it. When you hit rock bottom, the only place to go is up. So if
Yeah.
I hit there with 205, literally, I probably would have boom went to the bottom of the pool. But
Yeah.
um, but no, I had started. That kind of got me, scratching the surface of the iceberg, if you will. I had started learning a lot of this stuff, and I actually had hired my own nutritionist when I got that big to get myself down.
Okay.
And he wasn't quite as big and busy as he is now, but I could text him and message him, and he was real quick to get back to me. So everything I'd learned, I mean, I got notebooks with all the stuff we talked about. And so I just started learning that, okay, I'm doing this because of this, and this I'm fueling with this food because of that. And so I just started learning it. And then from there, after, I had got myself under control a little bit, I started reading more and expanding my knowledge as far as just personally. I didn't rely too much on other people. I just started doing it myself.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So
The mad scientist, everybody.
Yeah, and like you said, when you started this, it was a self project. You took the notes, you learned to better yourself, and then slowly you started working with guys. The reputation started growing and growing. Now it's gotten to the point where guys are leaving or coming to the gym to train with you, to work with you. You mentioned you have people working with you from out of state.
Yep.
I mean, how have you been changing, growing with the business now that you said you're working from, not necessarily a face-to-face, but more of a mobile contact?
Getting better with technology, I will say. Just finding different ways, because it is challenging when you go from a face-to-face client where you can, not smack them in the face if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Whereas like, all right, look, you find ways to talk to people when you can't emotionally see how you're actually talking to them, if that makes sense. So I've just learned to kind of grow, how I talk to people on the phone, or how I would text somebody, and the certain words you use, because you use, 2 or 3 different words in the wrong order, or it gets sent out with a little bit of a different tone. They're like, man, then they feel like you disappoint dad, and then you're like, oh, and you go sulk, and you're like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna go eat whatever now, it doesn't matter, I already let him down, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I've just learned that big as far as training and working with people out of state, which has also helped me address people when they're face to face.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually funny that you say that, because I'm gonna say, like, how hard is it actually to like figure it out? Because like there's certain people, I mean, like you said, with each person burning off the fat and like how they react to the diet, and then I guess one of the things you have to take into consideration if they're being truthful with their diet and all that stuff too,
Yeah.
But the thing is how everybody interprets certain text messages. It's like there's some guys, like, if they message me saying, hey, are you going to the game today? And I don't really watch sports, so I'm just using that sentence as an example. But why are you going to the game today? And I say no. They think I'm being short with them and I'm mad. But then if I say no, they're somebody else, they're just like, okay, he's not going, and they take it exactly how it is. How hard is the transition being it? Because it literally, the same word could give off two different meanings.
It's funny, and that's a great example, actually. Like, no, and somebody's like, oh, whoa, is he mad? Is he this? And they're like, what did I do? What did I let it? And you tell other people, like, all right, cool, bro, I'll see you next week or whatever. So it's hard. And some of that is usually just kind of getting to know the whatever fighter or client or whoever it is, not just fighters either. But just understanding. I try to meet with somebody face to face, find out what they do, kind of when I'm talking to them. Are they looking away and down? Are they a little bit more timid? Are they like, no, let's do this? And they're like aggressive and in your face. With, more of aggressive people, I can just be blunt, like, no, I'm not going to the game. Whereas other people I meet be like, no, I'm not feeling I'm not feeling going to the game today. It's no harm. I'll see you next week, homie, or whatever, whatever. You got to like read.
Dude, oh my God. How
space.
Oh, okay. So you've cornered in like probably a million fights. How similar is it to cornering a fighter? Like, you can say certain things in between rounds and stuff like that to certain guys, and then others you can't. Like, how similar do you think that it is? Like, getting the personality aspects into it.
I think like how you would address somebody in the corner is how you got to address somebody when you're talking to them about their nutrition, about their training. Now, eventually people they may get so far where you just got to like, look, give them that tough love talk. Like, look, dude,
Yeah.
You want to fight, you need to get in the gym. You need to be here, however many times a week. You need to be doing pads. You need to be running. There is a point for everybody where you do hit that point. Same thing in a fight. Like, look, dude, you're down 2 rounds. You got 3 minutes. You got 5 minutes. You need to go get this. You need to knock this dude out and finish him. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But again, for the most part, how you would address somebody in the corner is how you would address them, or how I address them if I were doing their nutrition.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, okay. I mean,
knowing and understanding who you're working with, and it's almost like you're not only are you a coach of martial arts or nutrition or strength and conditioning, but you're also a student of like human personalities.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta learn how to talk to them. And I've said it once on the show. I'll say it a million times. Fighters are probably the most sensitive people in the world as it is. So when broaching a topic, especially weight, with someone who may have had weight problems in the past, I mean, I can see how that gets a really dicey conversation quick.
Yeah. Try addressing a female about weight.
Oh,
Shit.
my God.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
And that's a whole
kind of
different.
one of the questions. Yeah. One of the questions that popped into my head too, because TJ actually brought it up, is dealing with people that used to be overweight in the past.
Sure.
What's it like working with Cooper Hayes, CJ Hayes?
He's good. He's somebody. He's a
I'm waiting for you to throw him under the bus. I'm totally just fucking around.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry.
No,
but I love that. I love fucking with him. It's just,
and I'm sure he'll watch this and he'll be like, God, and sit back with his big old dip and a beer and start laughing. But no, he's somebody I can be, pretty straightforward with. Like, if he's doing something he's not supposed to, maybe I'll address him softly. But then there's a point where, like, look, dude, you need to change this. Like, you need to stop eating this stuff, or you need to do this. And he'll be like, okay, I got it. And, he's so far, knock on wood, he's fixed things and adjusted things that I've told him to fix and adjust. And this last fight of his for LFA was actually the first time I got to work with him for his full camp on his nutrition. Because his last fight fell through, as you guys know, when he was supposed to fight Smith, it fell through, so it kind of became a wash. So I didn't even get to do weight cut week with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he kept texting me like, he's like, what did you do to me? I'm like, I'm heavier, I got more energy, but I'm leaner. And he was saying he had one of the easiest cuts he's ever had. So.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the easiest cuts and then a great performance. But since we're throwing him under the bus, I do have to ask quickly, what was your thought when you seen some of those post-fight week meals he was posted?
I don't look at those. I just stay away from their pages right there. Ryan Sternberg was really good at it too. My God, where does it go? But yeah, it's crazy.
Oh man.
Oh,
so I guess with all of everything that's going on with the quarantine situation, the coronavirus and all that stuff, how have you been actually able to stay in contact and work with your clients, the ones that are, because obviously the fighters have taken this on as their career and as a lifestyle. So,
Sure.
We have no idea how long this is going to last, but you're not going to want to take 3 months to get ready. If this ends at the end of the month, that's too much time off, especially when you're already forced to take a certain amount of time off.
Right.
What are some of the things that you've been doing to work with these guys, and what have guys and gals have been saying to you, trying to keep their weight right and things like that?
So, the situation, it is what it is, and it sucks and whatever, but, still, you got to do things 90% of the time the way you would if you were in your fight camp. So, and right now is the perfect opportunity to look at, a bad situation or a sucky one or an unfortunate one or whatever word you want to use, and take advantage of it. Like, maybe you don't have time to meal prep. So get better at meal prepping. Put a clock down, time how long it takes you to meal prep. So when you get back into camp and life goes back to, it'll never go back the way it was, in my opinion. But when it goes back to somewhat normal where you can go to the gym, sweet. I only need 90 minutes on Sunday and Thursday to meal prep. Boom, 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 boom. So they can use this as a time to either have a bad attitude and eat cookies and still go work out so I don't get too big, or they can use it as an opportunity to get a better discipline you don't really have time to focus on when you're in a fight camp. Like, I don't want to meal prep because I've never done it before and I don't know how long it's going to take. Here you go. Or, cookies. Have one for me. I don't got a cookie. Gideon ate all my cookies, so. But no, you know what I mean? I mean, there's always different avenues and different forks in the road that they can take to work on it. And I'm just like, just stay disciplined, There's times where you might be like, you get in a lull and you do have yourself a cookie or two. But no, just try to stay as sharp as you can and treat it as, an opportunity to grow in the areas where you feel like you don't have time with. Because when you're in a fight camp, you're working full time. I mean, it's hard to get all this extra time in. And I've been telling a lot of people, I don't have time to shadow box. I don't have time to run. I don't got time to work on my footwork. Like, well, you do now.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what's your excuse now? I mean, you got a garage, you got a living room, and it's just all
Bro. My God. If you got kids or a kid brother, then you're definitely fine.
Yeah, or siblings or roommates.
Go chase them around.
Yeah.
You know how many times my friends have gotten into unwanted grappling matches with me? It's numerous times, and we weren't during, or I guess it's maybe because we weren't on a quarantine, but whatever. Sure. The fact remains, if you want it bad enough, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, exactly. And I feel like you summed that up perfectly, Ben. And that was a great way to wrap it up is, essentially we're at a metaphorical, we're at a T in the road and, you can go left and make the correct decisions or you can go right and, kind of fault off a little bit. But like Damien said, when this gets back to a somewhat normal situation, the show is going to go on. So it's going to be only up to the fighter to determine if they're ready to go, when it's time to go.
Right. And are you going to be the fighter that needs, oh, no, bro, I need 6 months? Or are you the guy that's ready to jump on the first show when it comes up?
Yeah. Like, there's one thing that I respect the thing about the fighters that get to a certain point and are like, hey, I want to wait like 8 months in between fights, and, I guess like it's kind of the norm now. I mean, it always was in boxing, I guess. But now it's starting to become in MMA, waiting 8 months to a year before you defend your title, before you fight for the title again. But the guys that were always like, when you're gaining fans, when you're trying to stake your claim for the title, those people were taking everything serious the whole way through, but knowing that they still had to take chances. But one of the things that they would never take chances on is their weight and their ability to perform. They all took it serious, and and the ones that made it to the top usually performed at the best because they were taking their nutrition and their performance the best. So I hope fighters learn from the examples that other fighters have set and start working with your ass.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't already have like a long list of fighters. I guess because I know of a few people that don't actually even fight that have started working with you. I'm like, hold on, what? You working with Ben Locken? They're like, oh yeah, you know him? I'm like, yeah, I fucking know him. You work for you. Yeah, it was just, so it's pretty cool to see how it's all playing out for you. And yeah, dude, I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of to wrap it up, because I know TJ, you had just said wrap it up. So biggest tip, like as far as a wrap up, and just to piggyback exactly what Damien just said, like if you want to make it, ultimate goal, make it to the UFC, make it to ONE FC, make it to belts or whatever your promotional goal is. And if you choose to do this as a professional, like it's a 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I know, again, it's cliche. Yes, you need to take your little breaks here and there to give your brain a little bit of a break. But just think of it as 4 pieces. You got nutrition out of camp to tweak your body, alter your body comp, make a bigger, better, faster, stronger you. You have the in-camp nutrition where you tweak what you've built outside of camp, right? So in camp, you're making the tweaks, like you're making the car a little lighter, you're tweaking the turbo, you're putting a little more NOS here, you're getting different tires, whatever, the small fixes. Then you have fight week, where if in camp was all prepped correctly, your body's ready to cut weight and make a smooth weight cut. And then you have a tiny little piece, which is the post weigh-in or the refuel. And whether, you have a system that works for you or you hire somebody like myself or whoever else, piece number 4 is the refuel. Don't gorge. You got the most important piece of the whole thing in 24 hours. Don't overeat. Don't eat a bunch of crap. Like, refuel your body as if you're going to do a quarter-mile sprint down the track and you're going to run an 8-second flat, not a 10-second. So to kind of wrap things, I look at it as 4 different pieces.
Man.
So TJ, you want to wrap it up now that it's wrapped up?
Yeah, perfectly.
I hear kiddos screaming.
Yeah, I got the same thing going on here. But no, this is always a pleasure. I feel like this was very informative for the fighters out there. Do yourself a favor and watch this twice, because there was some good information dropped there as far as, pre-fight, post-fight, and just breaking down the 4 seasons, like Ben said. Ben, just before we do wrap it up, always like to give an open platform just for you to thank any teammates, sponsors, anything like that outside of the gym. Anybody that you feel deserves a shout out.
Always my wife. She's very supportive of what I do, especially during this quarantine time. I'm still making online videos, doing things like this, and she's watching after 2 kids and whatnot. And there's just honestly all my clients, like all my fighters, non-fighters, people that have been with me for a long time and consistent. I love it. It lets me do my dream job. And then the guy I've learned a ton from, George Lockhart and Dan Leith, and there's so many names in that system I can't even name them, and I won't. But those are the 2 big ones. But yeah. So just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. For the fans out there, if you're looking for dietary needs or anything like that, be sure to hit up Ben. He's the guy to talk to. That's Ben Locken, Strength and Conditioning. And then as far as the Damian and TJ trash talk, you already know to subscribe to that, like this video, and most importantly, don't be a hoe.
See you guys.
You have a good one, Ben.